Recorded in their mother's basement, Super Nerdland brings you Graded Point 5, where in a comic book it would be worth less than the polybag it comes in.
Hi, and welcome to Graded Point 5. I'm your host, Jason. With me tonight are John.
Hello.
And Jordan.
Congratulations, you made us read something good this time.
Alright, before we get rolling, a huge spoiler alert. We're not going to hold anything back, and if you don't want to get stuff spoiled for you, this probably isn't, the show for you. But, yeah. So, let's start you off with a thought. When you guys think of the phrase, the last man, you usually get like some kind of Charlton Heston Omega Man thing, right? Where it's like, there's no women either. There's just that one dude.
Yeah.
I like where this kind of swerved from that. We're talking about why the last man. This is, from 2002 to 2008, 60 issues, published by Vertigo Comics, created by Brian K. Vaughan and Pia Guerra. Yeah. The idea being that some nebulous thing happens and everything with a Y chromosome dies. Except for two. Yorick Brown and his capuchin monkey Ampersand. So this whole thing is, trying to save Yorick because he's the last man. He might hold the key to bringing back the human race. Pretty much what you'd expect. Except for, the stuff encountered. Some of it's really out there and pretty good. I mean, where do we start on this? How do we,
Well, I mean, do we want to do a plot summary, or do we just want to talk about how we felt about the comic?
Well, I mean, the biggest overall plot summary I already did is, trying to keep Yorick alive so he can, with the help of a doctor, a geneticist actually, and, a secret agent, try to keep Yorick alive so they could find a way to bring back the male half of the species through science.
Okay, well, here, let's just fucking pull the Band-Aid off and get right fucking into it.
Right.
John, you and I have the same fucking gripe with this comic.
Yes, we do. We very much do.
So you want to go ahead and lead us off?
I'll say this. So we're probably just going to get the negative out of the way right at the start, because ultimately this is a absolutely fantastic series of books. 60 issues. Published by Vertigo, so I'm going to obviously love it because I love everything by Vertigo, because I suck the dick every week. But and this is a book that I would recommend to people. Maybe not straight away, but if someone goes away and reads The Sandman and comes back and says, "Oh, what would you recommend?" I give them Transmet and I give them Preacher, and then if they come back a few times, I go, "Oh, why The Last Man?" Because it's a very non-traditional form of comic book. And it is in that spirit of non-tradition that I find the biggest issue with this book, in that so there's this plague or event or something that happens that wipes out everything with the Y chromosome, except, as Jason said, two things: a man called Yorick and his capuchin monkey called Ampersand. Now, the main sort of thrust of the comic book is trying to get Yorick to a scientist who's going to basically clone, find some cloning the Y chromosome in Yorick to kind of resurrect the male race as humankind. Now, the main thing that I don't like about the book, especially when I read it for the first time, is you're not given an answer as to why everything has died. During the comic, like the publication cycle, Brian K. Vaughan, the writer of the book, said there is a definitive answer that will be revealed in the comic book, and there wasn't. There never was. There was a series of suggested answers to it, but there was never anything definitive given. And normally, when that kind of thing happens, and you argue that it's more about the characters as opposed to the actual events, I just get kind of a vibe of Lost from it, where not that they were making it up as they went along, but really it didn't seem to matter to Brian K. Vaughan. And that's fine if that's the story you want to write. But really, it just kind of left me with a bit of a bad taste in my mouth the first time I read it. I enjoyed the characters a lot. I enjoyed the story. I enjoyed the things that happened. But I don't know. I just felt a little bit disappointed by that. As Jordan as well, you would agree.
Yeah, definitely. Well, okay. The biggest issue I have with it is so they build up towards okay. Once we get to a fucking working lab, we can do some tests. We can figure out why this shit happened. Figure out the nitty gritty of what happened, and then fucking Dr. Matsumori comes out. Was like, oh yeah, well I made a male clone, and then Mother Nature decided that males weren't needed anymore, and so just fucking plague happened. And my initial thought, I shit you not, was, nigga, what? Like, this entire time, I'm reading it going, okay, I'm interested. Like, I read the entire thing in, like, 3 days. I couldn't put it down. I was really enjoying the story. I was very interested in what was going to end up being the thing. And, of course, piecing together my own sort of theories behind maybe something that could have happened, especially with Dr. Mann talking about the connection between ampersand and specifically his feces and Yorick being exposed to it had changed him enough to where he had some sort of resistance to whatever the plague was. But then just fucking we got a fucking Mother Nature they did some shit.
It always struck me again the first time I read it. It struck me as kind of a cop out, just like
yeah,
didn't have any idea what it was and. It's since said after the fact that oh yeah, there are a load of theories in the book and one of them's right, but you can choose which one's right, and that means that it doesn't matter to him. And again, that's a story that you can write, and that's something that a lot of people have done. Where it doesn't really matter what happened. Like The Road is a good example where. That's not so much about the event that happened. It's more about the aftermath and more about the characters and stuff. And what exactly happened in that doesn't really matter. For this though, there was so much of a focus placed on what happened. And if you're going to do it where it what the precise mechanics of the event was, whatever plague it was happened, you don't focus on it too much, you maybe make a few throwaway references, but you don't focus on it. It seemed like it started off thinking, oh, I'm going to explain this eventually, because there was a massive focus on it and whatever happened at the start, and then it just seemed to kind of fall by the wayside and didn't really matter as he realized that hang on, whatever I come up with isn't going to be satisfactory. But that's basically my only kind of gripe with this book. And really, once you come into it knowing that, or with that in mind, second, third times you read it, it's a lot better because you're not expecting an explanation, and you can just read it as a character piece. Mm-hmm. In that sense, it's a lot. This is a book that, again, it's why I don't recommend it to people straight off the bat, because you really benefit from a few reads of this one, like something like Preacher or one off like Batman Returns. That's kind of you get a lot out of it the first time, and it's like satisfactory the first time. This really is only kind of really satisfactory after a few reads of it, really, because again, so much focus was placed on we're going to explain what happened, and then they never do. Although they kind of do, but they don't really. You're not giving a proper answer at all, so it's just kind of like, well, that's a bit of a kick in the balls, but still. That is literally my only complaint about it. Aside from that, I think this is fantastic as a comic. I think it's incredibly well written, just as kind of a story piece, and that kind of idea of how do you write just women, basically. There's one guy in it who's Bashley, by the way, I think Jason you mentioned this, Yorick is kind of a dick, right?
Oh yeah.
I mean, he is probably the least sympathetic character in the entire thing, but I mean, you still do like him, really. It's just everyone else happens to be incredibly well written.
He's a dick, but he's a well-meaning dick.
Yeah, it's kind of a little bit it's not very assertive, and it's not very it doesn't take responsibility for things. It's just kind of like, oh my god, why is all this happening to me and stuff.
He's
been like,
he's meek to a fault almost, and he's self-centered.
yes, he is most definitely self-centered. Well, again, it's testament to how it's written is that it gets away from that. It's kind of character growth in a very subtle way, at least at the start, because throughout the first 5 trades, I was like, oh, this guy's such a dick. But when it comes to mature and get better and take responsibility and stuff, that's when it's much more interesting. That's when it's like, oh, actually, this character growth is actually happening, and it's believable. Because a lot of times when you have character growth, it's just like, yeah, well, whatever, this will happen, but because the story needs it to happen. This is earned, it's character growth and exploration of one guy's crazy life that you actually believe and you take seriously and you actually are invested in as well. So from that perspective, I think it's great.
Yeah, it was a good book. I mean, what I found really interesting is, you kind of start out with this story of all Yorick wants to do is meet up with his girlfriend and see if she was willing to marry him and all that shit. But that gets subverted so many times through, other shit needing to be done or at one point crossed lines kind of thing. It's like this almost kind of like love story to it. But then when they finally do meet, she's like, oh yeah, I was going to dump you.
Yeah.
And Slef's sitting there going, wah, wah, wah. Yeah, even that's kind of made moot by the fact he realizes, he's been in love with 355 the whole time,
and then she gets shot in the fucking head.
Yeah. This guy is not allowed a happy ending.
Mm.
I mean, it doesn't one, to be honest. It's pretty. The main, as you say, the main like kind of thing driving Yorick to not particularly kill himself was trying to get back to his girlfriend. Was she in Australia at the start of the book, and he was in America, right?
Yeah.
So she's at Ayers Rock, and he proposes to her over the phone. And just as that happens, plague hits, right, and everyone starts dying. All the men do, at least. And it's just so like it's so dedicated. But you as a reader kind of know that it's not going to work out. It's like when your friend's in a shitty relationship, and they're like, "Yeah, it's great, everything's fantastic," and you're just like, "Yo, dog, this ain't gonna last." But you don't say anything to him because they're your mate. It's kind of like that, where you just know something's not right with him because of what she was about to say before she hung up and stuff, and just this like blind dedication when he eventually like has sex with another girl as well in the middle of his journey, and it's just like, well, clearly it's not the most ideal of relationships if you're going off and doing that. So you just don't pin all your hopes on this one thing.
Yeah. And what really got me was the only people that got anything resembling a happy fucking ending were the bitch that was gonna dump Yorick and his sister who tried to kill him. The only happy ending in the book is those two finding each other.
Yeah.
It is a series of it is basically a series of incredibly unfortunate events that happen to this guy. I mean, granted that he is the only man left alive, which actually isn't true by the end of the book, as you find out. There are 2 men left. Oh, actually, no, there are 4 men left. Because there's Yorick, Dr. M, and then there's 2 astronauts on the space station.
The astronauts die, though.
Yeah,
But there's the baby Vlad.
Yeah, there's a was she pregnant? The other astronaut, female astronaut. Yeah, so she was pregnant, so she was off Earth, so she avoided it. But yeah, there were 4 men, 2 of them die, but then there's a baby that's born.
What's really funny is by the end of it, you find out not all males of every species are dead, as they find new rats.
Oh yeah, I remember that bit.
So there is, the hope of nature bouncing back from it.
Again, I think that's kind of a bit of a weird thing, to be honest, because I suspect that when this was being written for the first time, or at least in the very early stages, he went, okay, every Y chromosome carrying animal is going to die, which does happen at the start. And then that changes, and it reminded me a lot of Preacher, when was it Saint Achilles shoots Cassidy, and it survives, and it's like, well, how did that happen when it turns out that he can kill God? Does that mean that this Irish vampire is more powerful than God? The correct answer to that is yes, of course he is, because he's an Irish vampire and he can do anything. But still, that was, from the Preacher example there, that it's been well documented that that he had basically no limit. He didn't quite know the limit of the Saint Achilles power. I suspect that's a very similar thing to this as well, which ties into my, again, one complaint about the book, which is, yeah, he didn't, the actual plague aspects, he didn't really know what he was doing. And again, if you just were to go like, oh, and now the plague's going away, apparently, and somehow there are rats with a Y chromosome again? What? I think that's because I'm a scientist. That pissed me off.
Yeah, I can see that. It kind of pissed me off until I realized that the plague was really just a secondary thing for the setup.
Yeah, exactly, and that's why I think again you get a lot more out of this on your second or third read, because you're not expecting an explanation. So
yeah,
it's a lot more. As I say, it's a lot more character driven than a lot of other books. That's just like, oh, look at this event that happens, and oh, we're going to have crazy machine gun fights and stuff. But that's not what it's about, really. It's about a character piece, but it's also kind of a bit of a social commentary as well. If you want to get into that area of conversation.
Yeah, that's a
textbook segue there.
Normally, I would not be up for this. I'll be honest with you, but we got to go into the Daughters of the Amazon.
Yeah,
in this book, it's hard not to talk about a social commentary because the entire thing is a social commentary about fucking everything.
Yeah.
It's not so much the social commentary as social beating with a fucking baseball bat. It's really what that whole Daughters of the Amazon bit is, and it's very interesting because this came out initially in 2002, and it almost feels like something that would have been written in the last 5 years. What with the way that modern third wave feminism is going, all men are horrible, because no. Oh, you don't want to talk about that?
No, it's more to the point. I don't think it would have been written because in Why the Last Man, the violent feminists are the bad guys.
Well, yeah. Well, I could see somebody writing it as a way to kind of get the poison out. If you were a male dealing with a lot of this social justice shit that's happening and going this is the logical extreme that those kind of women would go to, in a situation, is saying that it was a good that all the men died because men are oppressors and they're rapists and they're this and they're that. It just seems to me as a page right out of the third wave feminism handbook of the things to say and the things to think about men. Especially when you look at Queen Victoria's whole ideology when it comes to why it's a good thing that all men are gone. Something she says to Hero about like how a man's penis is not as pure as vagina is, because vagina is the temple and the penis is like this tainted appendage that inserts just horrible things into women. Just I honestly
she's not wrong.
I mean, technically that is technically correct, I guess, but it's still one of those things where, like, Jesus fucking Christ, this woman's got some fucking problems, don't she? Damn. But I found it was interesting, just how something that was written, almost 15 years ago now, has as much of an impact now as maybe when it was initially written. Hell, more of an impact, really, because of the way that we have gone socially, as like in the West in general.
I can see that. Yeah. But yeah,
they even cut off one of their titties. I still don't understand what the fuck that's all about.
Yeah, this comes from actual, like, proper Amazonian tribes, which again were just tribes of women. When they just after they got into puberty and they got the breast developing, cut one of them off, because it allowed you to draw the string back on a bow and arrow. Better, because obviously most men don't have breasts. Some do. I'm not judging, but whatever. But it's just easier because you don't have anything in the way to, like, to temper your draw strength, basically.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so that makes
symbolic.
sense.
It's a symbolic thing for them because they, daughters of the Amazon, whatever. For me, like, it was weird reading this for the first time because, like, it does seem when you first start out and there's this, incredibly, like, fanatical, devout group of women who are just like, anything even remotely to do with men is destroyed. They burn, like, churches and stuff. They just tear them. And it's just like, yeah, that's what they do because they're all a symbol of the patriarchy or whatever. And yeah, like, when I was reading it for the first time, I was like, this is going to be really hit me over the head and just be, oh shit, like, just a complete rampant thesis on feminism and stuff. But it really wasn't. Like, as you said, Jason, they're the bad guys, and they really are. They're the worst people in the book by far, and the kind of, like, it's almost like the Victoria, who's the leader, she's just like, I don't know, like, Negan from The Walking Dead or something, she's like that level of charismatic and just vicious and kind of a bastard, really. And I thought it was actually a lot more well done than I thought it was going to be. It wasn't like a rampant, either critique or support of any kind of feminism. And really, feminism as a whole is explored, like, from first wave to third wave and beyond. And there's at least some sort of representation from every aspect of that. And not only feminism as well, there's stuff like environmental issues, protecting the environment. There's like, marriage and how that works among people as well. There's all these issues that are explored that aren't, that wildly go outside of a specific area. But I thought everything was quite well done. What's ironic about it, of course, is the biggest irony is that this is all written by a man.
Yeah.
And all the female characters are really well written. Like, and it's always something I use as kind of a counterpoint when people say, like, oh, well, men should only write men, or women can't write male characters or something, or you can't write a black character if you're not black. And I go, like, well, Brian K. Vaughan's not a woman, so he's written some of the best female characters in comics, and also the best black and other race characters as well.
Well, yeah, it goes back to something that Ken Levine of Bioshock fame said. When you want to write a good character, you just write a good character. Like you don't go out and say, I want to write a female or I want to write a black female. You say, I want to have a character who has these sort of personality traits, and is going to be this type of person, and everything else kind of molds itself around that. And you can clearly tell that that's what he did with this. These characters have very well-defined personalities. Possibly some of the most well-defined personalities I've seen in a comic book that I've read in recent memory, which is really fucking impressive to me. I mean, and the fact that it's a man writing female characters does kind of make it more impressive because he does seem to be able to add that level of, I guess you could say, vulnerability to it in some extents, to because these are women. At the end of the day, badass as they may be, there is still that element of them being people and not being caricatures. If that makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, fucking impressive writing all around. I have to say.
And what works as well, like, is someone. This is a discussion I had a few years ago now. But if this was the other way around, and it was one woman surviving, and every woman had died except one, and every other male had survived, it'd be fucking shit. It'd be just so boring and over the top, and full of characters and stuff. It kind of wouldn't work the other way around, or it'd be a completely different kind of story. And the way it's done as well is just so like he's just written a good set of characters, really, as you said, and it really speaks to the level of like care and stuff he put into it as well.
Yeah, I'm looking at other stuff Brian K. Done to see what I know. There's not actually a lot. Like, the only stuff I'm actually read before other than Y is Runaways.
Yeah, he's currently doing Saga.
Saga, which we're gonna do. We're gonna do Volume 1 at some point.
Fantastic! It's one of my absolute favorite current books. It's pretty much one of the only reasons that I still get a weekly pull list is for.
Yeah, and eventually we're gonna do Pride of Baghdad. That'll be an interesting one.
It's for Saga, character writing as well. That's crazy though. That's like basically Romeo and Juliet, but in space. It's fucking amazing. Brilliant. I've done Pride of Baghdad.
Yep, we're going to do that at some point.
Which is a graphic novel all about lions. So that'll be good.
I don't know. Does it fuck with you as much as We 3?
It's worse than We 3.
I'm all there.
It's oh god, if we got a dick on it, it'd just be crying within 5 minutes. What makes Pride of Baghdad worse than We 3 is Pride of Baghdad's based on a true story.
Oh.
That's a good place to start with, yeah.
Yeah.
Gotta love how them true stories always get the tears flowing.
Yeah. They take you on a field trip.
Especially if they're about, like, a lovely group of lions in Baghdad. Yeah, even that was like he wrote lions as workable characters. It's great. As well, he's done Ex Machina.
Yeah, I've heard that's a good one.
Which is very good. Yeah, that's Wildstorm actually. Wildstorm, kind of another DC offshoot.
Well, originally Image, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was. Oh, what was it now? It was Jim Lee did it, and then DC bought it. They bought the entire universe and kind of They didn't exactly like bring him into the. No, they did.
They did in the New 52.
Got him in the new 52. Oh my God! Don't fuel my hatred of the new 52 even more. Jesus. In DC.
But now they're going back to being their own separate universe
Excellent. That's
within
what I
the
like
DC multiverse.
Fantastic. Yeah, like I think he's a fantastic writer. He hasn't worked like for as many. He hasn't done a lot with DC proper and Marvel.
Yeah,
He's done a few issues here and there, but you know, his actual like I guess more independent work is just great.
John, if I could bring up a point about why with you specifically,
Yes,
since I know you've read The Invisibles.
yes.
How does 355 not just come across as a watered down boy?
It does.
So you feel that too?
Yeah.
Okay.
I don't think it was kind of intentional.
No.
But because I think I read Why before Invisible actually, and when I read it, I was just like, oh shit, this is the same character. 355 is basically like Yorick's bodyguard for most of the story. She goes around and tries to stop him from dying, and she's eventually the person that Yorick realizes he loves. And just as they're about to start a relationship, get shot
In the head.
right in the fucking head.
Like dead center, right between the eyes.
Brutal. Yeah. So again, Yorick gets no happy endings at all.
Yeah, I mean, the guy can't catch a break. I mean, yeah, he wound up marrying the other Beth chick, but it's just like, he doesn't love her.
He was deeply unhappy. So I do have a question for you guys. How did you feel about the ending? Just how the book overall ended. Were you satisfied with it?
Well, it wasn't what I expected. I was certain that Yorick was going to kill himself at the end of the book, which he doesn't. The ending is, I'll just say the ending. It's set. What is it like?
It's 60 years later.
Yeah, he basically Yorick gets imprisoned in France, and it's all these clones of him, and one of his clones goes to visit him, and he's got all these clones of Ampersand running around as well, and he basically just like says a load of stuff to his clone, makes a bit of a joke, and then escapes because he'd been put in a straitjacket because they thought he was going to kill himself. So they were like, no, he can't kill himself because he's the last man. And yeah, I thought it was kind of like, I don't mind it. It's not like the worst ending ever. It's not the best ending ever either, but it's just kind of like, oh, okay, that's how it ended.
Actually,
it was just like just there.
Since you bring up the ending, there's a quote from it that really fucking stuck with me. And it was spoken by Yorick to his clone that made me feel almost betrayed by Yorick. And that quote is, just go out there and get your heart broken in so it'll be ready when you really need it. And I'm sitting there going, yeah, he did that, but by his own fucking words, shouldn't he have tried to move on? Like when 355 died? He was still relatively young. He was 27.
Mm.
I'm 32. I'm pretty sure even if I had lost, the love of my life at 27, by 32, I'd be going, there's other women to see.
Yeah.
And in fact, I have the best odds of all civilized humanity.
I mean, yeah, at that point, he did.
Yeah. I'd just be like, alright. Let's see what else is out there. And that's coming from me, someone who is completely fucking pessimistic.
Yeah. Look, the thing about how this ended for me, I liked a good bit of it. And I could understand Yorick being pretty fucking depressed, especially like right after you realize utterly, completely, and deeply the person who was the anchor that prevented you from killing yourself, and then they end up dying right in front of you. I can understand that fucking him up for a good long time.
But not 60 years.
But not 60 years. And to see Yorick turn into this bitter old man almost seemed like a complete betrayal of the character. Because even in some really dire times, he could still crack a joke. Or, he'd be the one to kind of bring some levity. But I think the thing that really kills me about the fucking ending, because, you can see other points, like after things have gone on, like, he can still kind of crack a joke. He's kind of roaming the world with Ampersand, and he goes to visit Rose after Allison had died, because he was trying to see her one last time before she kicked it. He can still crack jokes. So it's like, what happened between that point and where he is at, 87, where he's just almost nothing like the character that we had seen through the entirety of the fucking book. But the thing that kills me more than anything else is that last fucking panel that they close on, where it's just alas, and it's the fucking straitjacket, and it's like, oh, he's out there somewhere doing some shit. It's like, what kind of fucking ending is that? Like, fucking, like, seriously? Like, you could have done anything, and I think it would have been fucking better. Like, I get why it ended that way. I get it. And at first, when I read it, when I finished, I was like, oh, okay, that's, it's kind of melancholic, it's bittersweet, I can kind of understand it. But the more I thought about it today, before we fucking started recording, it started pissing me off, because it felt like a fucking cop-out.
Well, how really would you have ended? With him dying?
Honestly, probably. Like, I probably would have ended it with him having a conversation with his clone, and then it ends, maybe not with him jumping or anything like that, but just Yorick maybe seeing the the culmination of the 5 years of hell that he endured, and then going, okay, I'm fucking good now. I can fuck off, and then something like that, something that I don't know, something to give me as a reader some semblance of closure. Not, oh, that wacky Yorick, he's fucking, I don't know.
There he goes doing it again, right?
There he goes doing his thing. I don't know.
It did seem to me as well that ending where he runs off and goes like, "Hey, I'm free!" Diddly, and runs off and does
You're fucking 87. What are you gonna do?
Exactly. He's gonna break his fucking hip. Oh, damn, it's the same joke.
Little do you know, he's just like when they show the outside. I think it's supposed to be Versailles where he was kept. Like the outside, he's just down in the bushes. He just fell there. And he's just dead now. Yeah, sure. An updraft took his fucking.
Falling and I can't get up.
Yeah, the updraft just took his straitjacket away. He's really down there twitching and dying.
What annoyed me about the last panel was like it had all this like really sort of, as you said, like really like old bastard attitude in the final scene, where just telling his clone just to be like, people just abandon you and they run away and they just leave you or they get killed or whatever. And it's just kind of like, well, he's kind of given up at that point. But then in the last panel, it's like, oh, no, he hasn't. But you didn't imply that. So what? You can't do that.
Yeah, it's just, I don't... It almost feels like they didn't know how to fucking end it. So they're just like, okay, here we go. There we go. There's our ending. It's like, oh, okay, I guess.
But when you look at the character of Yorick Brown, you really have to do what we've done so many times in our little adventures together. to sit there and ask a question of the writer. Who hurt you?
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, this is a guy who literally is trying to just love someone. And every time it just keeps getting yanked out from under him, just a little at a time, till he falls flat in his fucking face on the floor, looks up, realizes there was someone there he cared about the entire time, started moving over to that rug, finally got all up on it, and they yanked the fucking thing in one panel.
Yeah.
Seriously, Brian K. Vaughan, man, who hurt you? What did they do to you? You can move past this, man.
Little do we know that Why the Last Man is based on a true story.
Oh, God. What?
It turns out that actually this is Brian K. Vaughan's version of The Crow.
Oh, that poor guy.
Hell.
It's like, I thought I feel bad, and then I read shit like this, and it's like, oh, there's somebody out there hurting more than me.
And then that's when Jason puts on the book and goes, good.
Oh, no, I love it when they do, because that's when you get the best fucking work out of them. When they've got nothing but their story to tell, and they're fucking, like, opening their veins right up in front of you, it's just like, this is damn good reading. That's why I love books like The Crow.
Yeah.
And you don't get many really good books that, like, feel that way, you know?
Definitely.
The best art always comes from pain, really.
Yeah.
Because that's the one thing, I mean, we said earlier that you can write, whatever kind of character you want. But if you can't get that level of, like, feeling across, regardless of the gender, the race, the whatever, age, you can't get a character that's believable that you actually feel what they're feeling, or you believe what they're feeling, then you're never going to get good story, because you just don't buy it. You're just like, yeah, there's no way that this character feels that, because it's just not coming across. It's not written well enough. Really, you kind of get that best understanding of pain.
Yeah.
Desperation, really. So it is true that the best work, especially in comics, because it's a long form and such a visual medium, the best comics always tend to be the ones where the writers have gone through some nasty shit at some point.
Yeah. Sure. So yeah, I mean, we've got a book that we genuinely, all seem to agree is solid and something we would suggest, though not. I'm definitely with John. I wouldn't suggest it right off the bat to somebody. That's kind of book you got to lead in. Really?
Yeah.
Now, are you saying that just to be an edgy fuckhole, or?
Well, a little bit of that, but no. I mean, I guess if they're like, what's a really good book that you would recommend? I'd say read Why the Last Man, but I would let them know, prepare to go on a fields trip. I mean, I did the same thing with The Crow. I would tell somebody, you want a good book to read, even if they just got into comics, go read The Crow. Just understand what you're getting into before you go into that. I am not to be held accountable for what future actions you commit because of what the book does to you.
Yeah.
I mean, I would just say, because with the exception of the non-explanation they give for the plague and maybe the last issue or two, it's a really, really fucking good read that, kept me gripped. So yeah, I would say, yeah, I would recommend it as an early read. But then again, I'm somebody who likes to see people suffer as much as I do, so that might have something to do with it.
Yeah, it all comes back to that edge.
So I could have just saved us a lot of time and just said yes, because I'm edgy as fuck.
Yeah, but we got an hour to fill, so
I'm doing you a favor, asshole.
Yep. But yeah, I don't think I could really, like, right off the bat. Let's say I'm encountered by somebody, late 20s, early 30s, wants a good comic, of let's say about 60 issues. I don't think Y would be on my top 5 even. I think it's overshadowed by stuff like Preacher or The Invisibles or Sandman. And that's just within Vertigo itself,
Mm-hmm.
It's definitely one of Vertigo's better, but I think it's kind of second tier,
Yeah, Vertigo for me have done the best of comics ever, and they again this isn't in Why the Last Man's detriment at all. It's just that I probably would recommend it in maybe the top 10 of
Yeah.
of that level of about 60 issues. Isn't necessarily a superhero comic, whatever. Then I'd say okay, Why the Last Man, number 6, 7, or something like that. But like I say, it's a solid book. It's good, bordering on great, but there's a caveat. It does benefit a lot from multiple reads, and that's basically the big thing for me where I wouldn't recommend it straight away.
Yeah.
Yeah, that sounds fair.
I can definitely see that. I mean, this is, the 4th time I've read it.
Yeah, I think it's about the same for me as well. Like, it always tends to be like the comics I love the most, I've read the most. So, Sandman, I've read a lot. I'll just put it that way. Transmit, I've read at least a dozen times. Preacher, I've read at least a dozen times. In shorter form books like Watchmen, I've probably read 12, 15 times at least. This I've read like 4, possibly 5. I don't remember, but I've not. It's not one I'm looking at my shelf of comic books now. It doesn't jump out at me as one I'd go like, oh, I have to read it. Once I start reading it though, it's always great. I always love reading it, but it's not something that immediately grabs me. And I think that kind of comes with you and I, Jason. That comes with our kind of, we've read so many comics, so much stuff that the stuff that we immediately go to like, that's what I read. No, that's what I'm in the mood for. Why is a hard book to be in the mood for? I think.
Yeah.
When you've got other things on your shelf, like stuff a little bit more light-hearted, like Fables, for instance, and I'll occasionally go, "Oh yeah, fancy reading some Fables."
And you're literally just writing off a litany of upcoming episodes: Transmet, Preacher, Fables.
Exactly, and
I'm really looking forward to doing Fables.
Fables is fantastic. Like that's again something that's it was written. It's still ongoing, isn't it?
Fables ended at 150.
Oh, so that's right. Yeah, I think there's a spin-off that's still going.
Yeah,
but as a whole's finished. That's one that's like, I mean, Fables is like almost 3 times as long as Why the Last Man, and that never feels like.
And don't worry, I'm not going to make you read all 150 issues.
Why the fuck not? I'd fucking read it. I'd read that shit in a fucking week, nigga.
You'll read the first 2 trades and then you won't be able to stop. Guaranteed.
Yeah.
And also, probably one of my favorite video games came out of Fables as well.
Oh, The Wolf Among Us.
Oh my
god,
yes.
The Wolf.
So good.
Wolf Among Us.
Oh, dude, you fucking mentioned that and I came. Oh my god, that game is so good.
But please don't get a mess on your microphone.
That's the weird part. I love that game so much, but I will never replay it.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, that's kind of an issue with Telltale games in general. They don't have a whole lot of replay value.
Yeah, like
Well,
The
I know
Walking
there's
Dead.
multiple endings and shit, and it's not the
really.
the gameplay that make there was multiple paths and shit. And there's little changes,
Yeah.
but it's not anything about the game. I just think it was good after one playthrough.
Yeah, I can agree with that.
Kind of like games
It's
like Heavy Rain,
yeah, where it's
I-
like that first playthrough you have, that's your playthrough, and that's what you want to remember as that. You want to remember the story as being that specific story.
Yep. Forever.
Yeah, because I went back and played the game like 5 times through just to do all the different shit, and I still think the most satisfying one was the first one I did. But also in that one, I was a fucking prick.
What's new?
I love that. I love that way you can be such a dick in games. Like Telltale do that really well. Like, was it the latest Batman or the episode? You just make Bruce Wayne as such an asshole. It's fucking hilarious.
Oh, I think that worked really in favor for The Wolf Among Us because Big B is a bit of an asshole.
Yeah.
And also
Jordan, beyond even in the comic, he is a bit of a big bit of an asshole.
Well, yeah, after playing The Wolf Among Us, I actually went, and I think I might have read the first 20, 25 issues of Fables, just because I fucking loved it so much.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
But yeah, they've not actually back to Why the Last Man. They've tried to make a movie out of it.
Oh, yeah, I was actually reading about that.
Yeah. Then they wanted to take it to TV, and last time I knew, FX is doing a series on it, and that is as of July 2016 that they're going to make a series. I'm not sure what I think.
Yeah, it's
honestly, not I think it's unfilmable, but
well, I'm just concerned with you have to get the perfect storm of directing talent to bring something like Why the Last Man to television and not fuck it up.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not concerned with the writing because Brian K. Vaughan is on the writing staff for the show.
Mm-hmm.
So if anybody's going to be able to adapt his work, it's going to be fucking him. But I don't know. It's I don't really know how how well it would transfer over to television.
I think you'd have to cast it just right.
Yeah,
and that would be hard to do.
Right, because who would you cast these fucking characters? Seriously, I honestly can't think of anybody right now that I would cast as Yorick.
No. But then again, I said all the same shit about Preacher.
Yeah. So.
And the TV show kicks ass.
I need to get off my ass and start watching that.
Yeah, you and I should sit down and just watch it sometime.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a great show, and it's quite different from the book as well.
Yeah, but at the same time,
benefit.
yeah, it's got the same feel though.
Yeah. I as well. I've no idea who you'd cast. Shia LaBeouf? I don't know.
No, God no.
Oh wait, guys, I've got it.
Jason.
I got it. Michael Cera.
Yeah. Could I get my monkey or something? What? That'd be awful. Don't do it. Don't do it, Hollywood.
Oh
Don't
shit!
Listen to us.
I shouldn't. I shouldn't even joke about that. Fucking.
Don't invoke him.
Yeah, memes are real, so I should be careful with the shit I say. Fucking hell.
Ugh. Could be worse. I could go the other route and go Channing Tatum or some shit. The only person I could see playing him is way too old.
Who's that?
Edward Norton.
Yeah, I could see that. Well, Well, the thing is, I could see how they could make it work now that I'm thinking about it. Because there's a big gap of time from where the comic book ends. Well, there's that huge gap of time. They could do Edward Norton as an older Yorick, like while he's doing his fucking adventures, just kind of meandering and adventuring around the planet. Granted, they'd have to figure out some other bullshit to be the thing, unless they're gonna just make it a Yorick fucking looks back on his adventures and fucking chills out with his monkey.
We're really trying too hard to justify using Edward Norton.
He needs to be in more things, goddammit.
This is true.
This is not fair.
This is true. I don't know, I heard the sequel comic book to Fight Club was good. Maybe they'll film that.
That'd be pretty cool.
Yeah. Wow, I mean, where the fuck... We have veered so far off the comic.
We're fine. We're fine. We're fucking talking about the TV adaptation for the fucking comic. It's fine, dude. It's fine.
I mean, to be fair, no, there's not much you can talk about in comics without having to go, oh, who'd play him in the adaptation? Because every fucking comic is being made into a film or TV show now.
Yeah.
Do you feel better now that you got that poison out, John?
No, because Watchmen is still a film. And fuck that, and fuck Zack Snyder. Cunt.
Yeah.
It's not an episode of Grady Point 5 unless I say the word cunt. So
yeah. Well, I don't know what you're saying. Watchmen was a good movie.
Oh, Jesus Christ. Are we gonna have this argument?
All I'm saying is I don't understand why you're so upset. Watchmen was really good. It was very faithful to the original book.
Did you like the big blue penis?
Oh, dude, I did. Ugh, it was delicious.
What's funny about that is someone had to animate that.
Yeah.
Like, just imagine the effects artist working all your life to put, food on your family's table, and you end up on the Watchmen movie animating a big blue dong.
You know what? I'd be okay with it, honestly. Because think about it. If you were in the right circles, you could be like, did you pay attention to how that big blue dong swayed? You're welcome.
Excellent dong physics.
Yeah. Speaking of dong physics, why don't we have more of that in video games? This is some bullshit. We've had tit physics for 15, 20 years.
What are you calling for a next-gen Choaniki?
Yes, that is exactly what I am calling for. Make it happen.
The dong physics in Mount Your Friends was pretty good.
Yeah.
That is some spectacular dong physics, gotta admit. I want to see
physics in that game.
I want to see AAA dong physics, man. Could you imagine how much better a game The Order 1886 or 1866 would have been if, you got some fucking werewolf dong physics going on?
Literally anything would have made that game better.
Having an actual game would have made that game better.
Isn't that game officially considered in the UK a crime against the crown for being so fucking boring?
I think so. I think the Queen put out a hit on him. She was like, "Oh, this isn't gonna stand. It's too shit."
Oh Christ Almighty!
There we go, Jason. You want to talk about veering too far off the fucking comic? I got you, fam.
I was just about to say that.
Alright, on that note, folks, this has been another episode of Grade Point 5. We hope you enjoyed yourself. And yeah, go out and pick out the comic. Support your local comic shop. While you're at it, give over a few bucks to the Comic Book Legal Defense Fund, because someone's got to fight for the First Amendment rights of comic creators. And they do it, so we don't have to. Because I'd be fucking useless at that. Alright, we'll see you next week.